Okay, let's start.
Fabulous.
Welcome to the show. My guest today is Sarah Lambros, Miss Calgary 2025. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got to this point?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a born and raised Calgarian. I am 24 years old, and I am currently Miss Calgary. So I entered a pageant earlier. It was just this month, actually, and was fortunate enough to be crowned. Besides that, I also work full-time as a seismic processor in geophysics in Calgary. I work part-time as a tutor, and I volunteer with the Calgary Stampede as well. So that's what takes up my day-to-day life, and I'm happy to be here.
I don't know a lot about pageantry, but I figured I would have the winner. If I'm gonna have anyone, why not have the best? So I have a lot of questions for you.
Lovely.
First of all, before we get into that, can you give me a little bit of background on how you got into pageantry in general?
So a couple of years ago, I was the Calgary Stampede Princess, and that was a ton of fun. And through that, I learned how much I enjoy public speaking and going into my community as a public figure. And after about a year of a break from that, I realized how much I wanted to do it again. And during 2023, when I was a Stampede Princess, I got to know Miss Calgary 2023, and she was lovely and she did an amazing job. And so I contacted her and asked if she thought I would be suitable for the Miss Calgary position. And she said, go for it. So here I am. And it's a whole new world for me too, but it's a lot of fun.
Did you want to do that when you were younger? Like way younger?
When I was really little, I wanted to be a paleontologist.
Okay.
So maybe not quite, but I was always wearing dresses and crowns. And I was a very girly girl when I was younger. And so I don't think it's too surprising that I'm here today.
How did you get into geophysics then?
Geophysics. So when I went to university, I actually intended to do a biology degree. But then I learned how much I really enjoyed math over other sciences. And also the job prospects with a biology undergraduate wasn't something I was too interested in. And I really enjoy the outdoors, and being born and raised in Alberta, we do a lot with geoscience here. And I ended up doing geophysics so I could tie my hometown, my love for the outdoors, and being interested in math. That's kind of all one package for geophysics. So that's how I ended up there. It's not a super popular degree, but it's very interesting.
If someone only knew you from social media, what would be something that would surprise them about you that you haven't really shared online?
Oh gosh, that if they only they only saw me on social media, what would surprise them? I feel like this is maybe a little silly, but on social media, I'm always showing what I'm doing, and I love going climbing. I love going to the gym and working out, and I'm always very busy. It might surprise people how much craft dinner I like to eat, because I feel like I like to show a healthy lifestyle, but once in a while, I indulge.
I did not see that coming.
I mean, I'm happy to share whatever, but the mac and cheese obsession might not be that public yet.
So what, have you had a kind of my life is crazy moment, recently or since you've won, like that it hit you?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm really glad you asked that, because just this Wednesday, so a couple days ago, I was working. So I had my full-time job, and then I had my tutoring student in the evening. And then on top of that, I had 4 meetings that were related to Miss Calgary or preparing for the national pageant. And it struck me at about 6 p.m. that I didn't budget time to make myself dinner. And I love being busy. I love doing that. But I took a second thinking, whoa, this is so much. This is crazy that I get I get the opportunity to do these things. But yeah, it's looking like it's only going to keep ramping up until the national pageant happens. So yeah, it has been very busy, and you don't always know until you're in it what it's going to be like.
Yeah. Thanks for stopping at my little show in your busy schedule.
No, I appreciate it. I love doing things like this.
In the whole getup too. With the crown.
Any time to put on a crown. It's a little bit heavy. The interesting thing about the crown is it sits quite far back on my head. So if I were to look too high up or tilt my head too much, I would worry about it taking a tumble, which of course I don't want.
It's keeping your posture. It's just keeping you. Really good
Does.
posture.
It helps you stay upright.
I want to talk a little bit about geophysics. Can you tell me about it? Like I'm a fifth grader.
Of course. Yeah. So geophysics is the way I describe it is it's using math to figure out how the earth works. So when we set up a math problem, like you can do it in economics or in physics or whatever, we can use variables to model what the outcome's going to be. And so what's interesting about geophysics is we're doing that at a really large scale across sometimes billions of years. So what I did in school for the most part is using multivariable calculus, so working in all 3 dimensions plus time to model how will the earth change in terms of temperature, how will glaciers melt, or how will astronauts or whoever go into space and orbit different planets. So it's really using math to create models, and we know stuff about the earth from doing our own research with what we have here, but we can also use that knowledge to apply it to the future or to other planets. And so specifically what I do for work, I work consulting in the energy business. So it's a lot of what's under the ground and what can we learn about something that is kilometers below our feet.
What's the most interesting thing you've learned that most people don't know
Whew.
about the earth or
Just about the earth in general? My goodness, there's a lot of interesting things. I think the most interesting thing that I have learned is just the potential that we have to innovate our current industries with the knowledge that we have. So before going into geophysics, I felt I heard a lot about pushing for sustainability and different types of energy, and it always felt very unattainable or attainable in a way that leaves people without jobs, or we'd have to completely redo the way we do everything. And then through my geophysics degree, I learned that's not necessarily true. We can use the knowledge that we currently have about the earth and everything that people currently know how to do to make whatever changes we think are necessary. And people keep their jobs and we continue using the same techniques that we have been for a long time. So very interesting, to learn about industry through my degree.
And then did you ever speak about geophysics while you're doing pageantry? Does that ever come up?
It does a little bit. When people ask me about my platform, it's very related to what I just mentioned, what we can do here in Alberta. Oh, my sash fell off.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah, I know, right? So what we can do here in Alberta and throughout Canada to continue driving our industry forward while taking care of Canadian jobs. So that is that's something I'm very passionate about. And for a platform that does come up, unfortunately, if you ask me about geophysics, I'll just keep talking. So if it does come up, it comes up.
Yeah, we were talking about that. So when you are out rock climbing, it comes up?
It does, whether my people climbing with me want it to or not.
What kind of things do you say? I've never been rock climbing with a geophysicist.
Well, it's a great time. So I also have a minor in geology, which is where I know a bit more about the actual physical rock stuff. So in terms of the Rocky Mountains here, the way that they formed, how old they are, the different types of folds and fossils you can find in them. It's very different depending on where you go in the mountains. So I love pointing out to people what the different layers might be made of, which layers are harder or softer, where the erosion might have come from. And sometimes you find a fossil, and that's really fun too.
Are you still interested in paleontology?
Paleontology, I find it interesting. I wouldn't pursue an education in it because my interests have just changed. But dinosaurs are fun. Yeah. It's hard to say that they're not.
Yeah. So you won. When did you win Stampede Princess? So
I was crowned the 2023 Calgary Stampede Princess at the end of 2022.
Okay. What was it like leading up to that? How do you kind of enter, and how long is the process?
Yeah, so for Calgary Stampede Princess, it's a lot of public speaking and interviews and interacting with people, which is very similar to what I'm doing now. But there's also a horse riding component of it because as princess, you do a lot of riding and you ride in front of the grandstand at the rodeo during the greatest outdoor show on earth, which is a lot of people. So you need to know how to ride. And the competition itself is about a month long, and interviews, social media, social media, like challenges that they ask you to do that you're judged on. And they cut down to like semifinalists and finalists, and then they crown the princess at the end of it.
Did you already know how to ride a horse, or did you learn for that?
I've been riding for a long time. I rode as a little girl, and then I took a break for a bit. And when I got back into it after high school, that's sort of when I became interested in the princess thing. So it's kind of like riding a bike. Once you know how to do it, you can get used to it, but you definitely have to be practiced to try out for royalty.
What were some of the highlights of your time as Stampede Princess?
Oh my gosh, it was, there were so many things I got to do. One thing that's related to my degree is I got to speak at the World Petroleum Congress, which was an amazing feeling, getting to talk to people from all over the world. And, you know, when somebody comes up to you and says, hey, the representative from Hungary wants a picture of you, it's like, me? You know, it's this really amazing thing. And getting to speak in front of that crowd was fantastic. And I love the public speaking aspect of it. And one little thing that I love to sort of brag about is when I introduced, you know, the crowd to the grandstand show, before the evening show, they used a clip from my speech in the new museum called the Sam Center on Stampede Park. So they have like a video sort of interactive exhibit, and you can hear a clip of my voice.
That's
my
awesome.
voice is nearly gone in the clip, so you can barely tell it's me. But yeah, it was really cool. I'm very proud of that thing that happened. It was really neat.
That is really cool. Were you always good at speaking publicly, or did you learn that through that process also?
I've always been interested in it. When I was younger, like in middle school, I liked to MC things, or, you know, if there was a chance to speak, I'd always want to do it. But I really feel like through the Stampede process, that's when I received training for it, so much practice. I spoke in situations that, you know, I never would have otherwise. And that's where I really started to develop a love for it.
Lots of reps. Hey, you mentioned to me you did like, was 300 events or something?
Over 300, yes.
Over 300.
Yeah.
Over 300.
And that doesn't include training.
Wow.
So it was busy. Yeah.
Is that multiple per day?
So there were some days where we, you know, there were some days without events, some days with, but in June, I think we got one day off. And when I say we, I mean me and the First Nations princess. So we worked as a duo. And then during Stampede itself, like I had 16 events in one day. I think it was the Thursday. It was crazy. Wow. So yeah, it's very busy. And what I love about that is it set me up to get used to that type of schedule. And now with this role and preparing for a national pageant, I have the tools and the time management and the ability to be efficient and get as much as I want done under this crown as well. So they're really useful skills that I picked up, I think.
What's one cowboy skill that every Calgarian should know?
One cowboy skill every Calgarian should know. I mean, I say you should always learn how to fall off a horse. I'm not sure if every Calgarian needs to know that, but if you're going to get on a horse, you need to know how to fall off or else you can get hurt.
I don't know how to fall off a horse.
You just want to kind of get ahead of it.
Oh.
And my advice is, you know, if you feel like you're going to come off, don't fight to stay on. Okay. And if you want to stay on the horse in the first place, having a wide stance, like pushing your knees outwards and really digging your heels down and sitting far back, that'll keep you on the horse better than anything else.
Thanks.
But one thing that maybe not a skill that every Calgarian should know is your cowboy hat goes 2 fingers above your eyebrows. That's where the brim sits.
I maybe have been wearing a cowboy hat wrong my whole life.
A lot of people wear it up higher, which is fair enough. But if you're doing it
like a baseball hat, kind of.
Yeah, if you're doing it like full like cowboy style,
right here,
it's 2 fingers above the eyebrows.
I'll do that from now on.
Well, then you know.
So let's say you had to go back in time and tell yourself before Stampede Princess, what advice would you give yourself?
I would tell myself to relax a little bit and not be so hard on myself. So, you know, when you're have like 3 hours of events in a day, or you go to school and then you're done after that, you can be hard on yourself because you get the time in the evening to, you know, take a break and look back on what you're doing. But when it got to the point where I had multiple events in a day with no break in between, being hard on myself for every little mistake or everything I didn't like was completely overwhelming. And it came to a point like during Stampede where I was like, I need to not do this. Like I can be critical about what I'm doing, but not in the moment. That needs to wait for another time because I have a job to do right now. And just beating myself up about everything is not productive.
Yeah. It's more than a full-time job. It sounds like really, really exhausting.
Yeah, it was very busy.
Yeah. Especially Stampede time, I'm sure. Speaking of Stampede, do you love Stampede?
I love Stampede. Can you guess?
I was going to ask you what you think the most Calgary thing about you is.
Oh my gosh. You know, it's funny. As somebody who is currently Miss Calgary, works in the energy industry, and was an ambassador for the Calgary Stampede. One of those things, I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love how close of a community Calgary feels like. And that's why I love it here. Like you can go anywhere and strike up a conversation with anybody. And that's really important to me. So maybe that.
Yeah, just from your resume, I would give you Miss Calgary.
Oh, thank you.
It's a lot. If you were giving someone a tour of Calgary, where would you go? What would you do for like a real Calgary tour, not like what you read on a tourist kind of website?
Ooh, okay.
What's like a real Calgary experience?
It's going to be a full day thing?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in the morning, we would go to my favorite little cafe, which is Lazy Loaf and Kettle. I don't know if have you been there?
I've been there, yeah.
Love it there. They always have really good specials and it's just such a cozy little feel. So we'd have breakfast and maybe a coffee. And then downtown, we have a beautiful river walk. So maybe park downtown somewhere, go walk along the river. And then I have a huge love for the arts and anything that's going on in the Jack Singer, right down the Arts Commons, Jack Singer, Martha Cohen, any of those little theaters. You can always find something that's enjoyable and fun. And I would love to take somebody there. So I'd look into it first and see which theater has something they might enjoy. And so maybe take them there for a matinee, or we can go in the evening, depending on what we want to see. And then, of course, I would take them out for another meal, probably at 10 Foot Henry, which is my favorite restaurant. It's all sharing plates, so it's very, it's a very cozy feel again. Very much enjoy that. And then perhaps in the evening, we could go drive through Stampede Park and see the BMO Center when it's all lit up and see what's going on down there and just do a little drive down 17th and people watch a little bit.
I like it. The Calgary experience.
The Calgary experience.
That's it for now. I'm going to take a little break.
Fabulous.
And when we come back, we'll talk about Miss Calgary.
I love it.
Lambros. I'm 24 years old, and I'm proud to be representing the beautiful city of Calgary. Slay.
The feelings of commodities and the parts of supporting one's community motivates her, and she strives to prioritize these values in her career and volunteer work.
And we're back. Okay, Miss Calgary, you won.
Woo.
How long has it been? A couple weeks?
Yeah, actually, I suppose it's only been it was on March 8th was the pageant and the crowning day. So yeah, a couple weeks. Yeah.
How is this process different from the Stampede Princess process?
Well, number one, I'm not riding a horse. So that's the main difference. With a pageant, there's like a runway stage component of it. So there's evening gown, there's fashion, and there's swimsuit. And you go on stage and, strut your stuff and show off what you picked out to wear. So that's a big portion of it as well. But there is still the interviews and the public speaking. And there was also a test.
A test?
So, yes. Okay. So the questions on the test were about Calgary and about Canada. And some of the questions were, to be expected, like what's the greatest outdoor show on earth, or was that, or questions about politicians. Then there were questions like, who are the mascots of the 1988 Olympics?
Oh.
Do you know?
No, I'm picturing maybe a white polar bear with a torch. in
They
its
were
hand.
polar bears. Yeah, they were polar bears. And I think their names were Heidi and Howdy.
Okay.
So at the time, I remembered they were polar bears, but I forgot their names. So I knew it was something and something that started with the same letter. So I put Zip and Zap.
Okay.
That was not right. So there is a test that, as you can tell, I didn't get 100% on.
You must have passed.
I think it went okay. So
Yeah.
it was, you need to know your stuff about Calgary for sure.
Yeah.
Even just little random facts.
Well, you did. You did it. Wish I could do the test.
Well,
Wanna
I
know.
could just start grilling you on
Yeah.
questions.
Later on, ask me a couple of questions.
I will. Yeah. There's some other ones like, well, right behind you. Do you know what the original name for the Calgary Tower was?
Husky.
Yeah.
Husky Tower.
Husky Tower. And I've heard actually in like aviation, they still call it that. That's like the official name
Oh,
amongst
really?
like airplanes and stuff.
I actually don't know what it's called now. Just Calgary Tower?
I think it's just Calgary Tower. Yeah.
No sponsor, maybe.
Yeah.
Huh.
They were polar
They were
bears.
polar bears. Thank you. I need you for the next episode if you want to stay.
Heidi and Howdy the polar bears, not Zip and Zap. Makes sense.
What about your duties? So you were saying everything is mandatory kind of as a Stampede Princess, and you
Mhm.
get to choose as Miss Calgary.
Yeah.
What are the differences in the things you have to do, the events and things like that?
Yeah. So with Calgary Stampede, it's a youth development program and it's like fully immersive and it really just takes up your whole year, which is fantastic. I'm so glad that that's what it was like because, you get forced into learning things and just types of experience you wouldn't do otherwise. Whereas with Miss Calgary, which is amazing in its own way, I'm still working full time and I get to seek out my own events, look into what I'm interested in, and if something conflicts with my job or if I'm not able to make it, it's not absolutely mandatory to go. So there are like little differences that way. And I love being able to go to work and then in the evenings or on the weekends or even in the mornings get to do this as well. So we do have to, like as Miss Calgary, I have to attend a certain number of events throughout the year, but it's definitely manageable. And, we have a great team that's helping us out too.
Do you attribute a lot of your success to the Stampede Princess experience you had?
I think it has really helped me get to where I am. If anything, it really just showed me what I'm interested in and what my potential is, right? Like a couple of years ago, I would have never thought to ever be on a podcast. Like, why would I ever end up there, right? It's cool and it's great and I love doing these things, but I wouldn't have known without it. So I'm really glad I had that experience. And then I know what types of things I enjoy seeking out and where I feel like I have potential. And then I can do that under this sash and crown. It's really fun. Yeah.
What are some words you'd use to describe what you want your reign to be?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
It doesn't have to be single words. If
Okay,
you just
yeah. Let's pull up my dictionary. I want it to be like immersive. I want to do as much as possible in as many places as possible. Time consuming. I don't know if that sounds like a positive thing, but I think, taking up as much of my time as possible with this is fantastic. And then I think having as much outreach as I can would be great. Like going to as many different communities and different events that I've never heard of and showing people what Miss Calgary's like. Like you've never had a Miss Calgary on here before, right?
I've not.
There
No.
you go. So it's like, Dark Sash does not want to stay up. That's like a new thing. And it's having this type of exposure for this title is really cool. And I really hope to do that.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to bring other people to try to be Miss Calgary in the future? Is that part of it too?
Yeah, it definitely is. And I'm really glad you asked that because I feel like from an outside perspective, maybe you can tell me this, but it almost seems like from an outside perspective that if you get crowned, it's great. And if not, then no. But that's not the truth. There's so much that you learn throughout the process. You make friends. You get coaching in terms of walking in heels and presenting yourself on stage. Little things like learning who the mascots of, the Calgary Olympics are, right? So it's something that even if you feel like you won't be successful. First of all, you never know. Secondly, you'll learn a lot just through the process of the pageant itself, right? So it's always a learning experience and it's a lot of fun.
Do you find it, which is harder, walking on stage in heels or geophysics?
Oh my goodness. If you asked me that in the middle of my degree, I probably would have said geophysics. Like, I don't know what level of math have you studied in education?
To high school.
To high school, right?
Yeah.
Which is like, did you do calculus in high school or?
I guess.
Yeah, whatever high school
I
thing is.
never thought about it since then.
Yeah, so that's what,
Yeah.
At that point, it's still not easy. I'm not going to say math is ever easy.
Yeah.
But, 3 years into my geophysics degree, it got to a point where like when I'd write an equation on a piece of paper, I'd have to turn the paper sideways and the equation would take up a page and a half
Okay.
sideways. So at that point, I would have said geophysics.
Yeah.
But now that I'm past the testing part and I'm working, I don't know, heels are hard to walk in.
I wouldn't be able to do that either of those. So
Both at once. It's like a test. I actually just ordered new heels for the Miss Universe Canada pageant, and they're 6 inches tall. So
oh wow.
I know.
Yeah.
See how that goes.
Have you had any unexpected parts of the job yet?
I think anything that has to do with Miss Universe Canada is very new and unexpected to me. Part of it is a humanitarian project, which I didn't know about until being a part of it, and which is exciting, but also like it's nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Doing something new, right? And it's pretty much all on me and whatever resources I have. So I think anything that comes with this crown and anything in the pageant world is kind of unexpected because it's very new to me.
Mm-hmm.
So trying my best though, which is key.
I guess I already asked you this in a way, but I wanted to know what your mission as Miss Calgary was.
Yeah, so within the role of Miss Calgary, I just hope to be as involved in my community as possible, take any opportunities that come my way and seek out more opportunities. And then in terms of going to Miss Universe Canada, I just want to represent Calgarians well, that's what this is all about. It's fun. It's so fun to put on a sequin blazer and put on the crown and be all sparkly. But what it's really about for me is this sash and this crown means that I'm representing a city and the people in it. And it's very important to me that I do that properly and in a way that is true to Calgarians. So hopefully I do okay.
So what is Miss Universe? You just mentioned that that's kind of your next step in this, right?
Yeah. So how much do you know about like overall pageant organizations?
Absolutely nothing.
Fantastic. So there's different organizations throughout the world. So there's Miss Universe, there's Miss Grand International, Miss Earth, Miss Globe. There's a whole bunch of them. And within each international organization, not every country, but most countries, they have a pageant for a delegate to go to that competition. So Miss Universe takes place in November, but Miss Universe Canada is in August. And that's where they determined which girl is going to be representing the national title at the international stage.
Okay.
So it's a lot of work. The pageant itself is a week long, but I've started preparation for it on Wednesday and it's in August. So it's that national pageant. It's a big deal. It's very competitive. But best foot forward and see what happens, right? That's kind of the case for everything.
Sounds like a lot.
It is. And it's really funny here. Actually, I'm going to ask your opinion on this. Part of Miss Universe Canada is a national costume, and we have to wear something or put something together that represents Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Any ideas? I'm trying to think of some.
Represents Canada.
Yes. RCMP Mountie is very popular, so different direction than that because I've seen it before.
This is a good opportunity to ask people in the comments.
Yes. Does anybody have any ideas for my national costume in August? Because it's hard, right? To think of something that's all of Canada.
Yeah. Everything that immediately popped into my head is just so stupid.
Well, I want to hear because
it was like a full beaver mascot costume.
That's what my mom said.
Then it's not stupid.
Costume. No, we recognized that it might have been silly. I mean, my first idea was also ridiculous. So if you feel like yours are ridiculous, then
what was it?
Well, like I said, I really love the arts and musical theater. And do you know the musical Phantom of the Opera?
Yeah.
One of the most popular people to play Phantom was Canadian. So I had this vision of having like the mask and the cape, but no one would get it.
You'd have to explain it.
It would have to be explained. Otherwise, it would be like she doesn't understand
I'm thinking
what we're doing.
hockey player.
Oh my gosh. I should send you a picture of, because they also do national costume at the international competition. And one lady one year, she had her skirt was like a hockey net. Then she had like wings made of hockey sticks, a Stanley Cup on her head, and like a scoreboard
Wow.
on her back.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but
Hard to top that.
it was incredible. And she didn't win, which I guess was kind of surprising.
I'll try to think of something else.
I'm all open to suggestions.
I love costumes, so.
Right? It's fun.
But we'll see. Maybe the comments.
Yeah, anything. I'm open to anything. Or I can just combine everything. Do like a beaver, a hockey, musical theater. That'll come across really well, I'm sure.
A phantom beaver at a hockey game.
You know, that sounds great. I would definitely do that if I could explain it.
So, what you need donations for? How does that work for Miss Universe?
Yeah, so for the Miss Universe Canada competition, part of the preliminary competition is a humanitarian project where we're asked to create a fundraising project for a charity of their choice. This year, they chose the Canadian Mental Health Association, which I'm really glad that that's what they chose. That's something I am very passionate about. And I think mental health is important for everybody. And for a strong community, it's great if we're all healthy and take care of our well-being. So for my project, I'm still working on what I want to do in terms of raising awareness in an event, but the donation link is already live. So for anybody who is able to donate or able to share the link, I shared it with you. So anybody who wants to donate just needs to put my name, Sarah Lambros, under contestant name, and every little bit counts. It means a lot to me, and it means a lot to help people who need support that are living with mental illness.
There's going to be a link in the description of this video, and there's going to be a pause right here. There was a pause there, and people could see that.
Glad, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's it's going to be a lot of work to put together what the event is.
Yeah.
But you know, it's not necessarily judged on how much money we raise. It's our efforts that we put into it and how we present it at the pageant. But because this is, you know, it's a really important charity to me, and I want it to be as successful as possible, regardless of the competition. So it's apparently very competitive too. So see how it
Well,
goes.
it sounds competitive. It's the whole universe.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's like to be competing to represent your country at an international competition is a big deal.
You should get a little pin.
I should. I think it's the sequins. They're
Oh,
slidey.
okay.
So if you ever end up with a sequin blazer and a sash, now you know.
I'm definitely going to have a sequin blazer. I don't know what my sash would say, but
The deets.
the D's. Okay. I'll get
You
one.
could get a belt.
I'll get one made.
You should.
Okay, I
A
will.
crown.
I'm going to clip this on as the intro showing my sequin blazer for the first time.
You should.
I'm going to. I do know one thing about pageants. I saw Steve Harvey hosting one once.
Yes.
And he said the wrong winner.
Yeah, that's a bit of an infamous clip. So that year, I hope I get my countries right. The lady who won was from the Philippines, and Colombia was the first runner-up. And he announced Colombia as the winner, and then he had to go back on his words because that's
so horrible.
I know, and it's awful because I mean the poor girl at the time, and it just changes that moment for them. At the same time, it's if you watch, you know, if you see how long he's been part of Miss Universe, he's been doing it for a long time. And unfortunately, that's all people know about what he does. And the year after was really funny because he announced Colombia as a semifinalist or something. And he was like all nervous and she was like looking at him. It was like a whole show. It was fun. So yeah, wouldn't that be awful
Oh.
to be the person to say that?
Were you in the were you watching at the time, like live, or have you just, it's a popular clip?
It's just a popular clip. I don't remember what year that was, but it was a bit ago. Yeah, I think it might have been like around the 2015 era. I'm not totally confident on that. So,
Yeah, that would be the worst. I would just, I don't even know what would you do as Steve Harvey? That'd be horrible.
I don't know. And he just came out. He's like, I need to apologize. And it's such a, have you seen the full clip of it?
Yeah, well, it's been a while since I saw it. I forgot about it until just now, actually.
It's quite something. I think later that year he had Miss Columbia come on to his talk show and they kind of chatted out, talked about it a bit. So I think they worked through it.
Maybe the card should not say like a winner and just put one of the countries.
Just one. Yeah, or just have like a bunch of cards. I don't know. I know it's a whole production. So it's probably a lot of work to get together.
What would you do if that happened to you?
If I was the person announcing
No,
or the
if
person
they said your name and then took it back.
At the time, I think I would just do my best to handle it with grace, but that would be devastating because you'd be like, your emotions would be up here, right? And then all of a sudden it's taken away from you. However, I'm the type of person who would like to laugh at myself. So you best bet afterwards I'd have like t-shirts or something that had like a funny saying like related and, just try to make, it's an unfortunate thing that happened, but you can make a joke out of it. What would you do?
Maybe cry. Just cry.
Just stand there and just. Yeah. I feel like that's actually fair.
Yeah, I would cry enough and hope that they just let me have it. Like you already said it.
If you run really fast, then they can't catch you.
Do people, if they don't win, do they enter again and again, or is it just once?
It depends. So for Miss Calgary, you can enter more than once, and you can keep going until you're successful or until you no longer meet the age requirement. For Miss Universe Canada, I believe you can enter more than once. But if you are crowned your national title, you only get that one time. So you can only try for Miss Universe once. So, it's like some things, yes. But once you get to a certain point, it's like you've got the title, you get one shot, and then that's it. So
what kind of responsibilities do you have as Miss Universe? I know because for Miss Calgary, it's all really locally oriented. So.
Yeah, so for Miss Universe Canada, as far as I'm aware, and I'm not an expert on this, it's still very much like what you make of your year. And then you're, expected to go to compete for the international title. If you're crowned Miss Universe, the international title, then you live in New York for the year where the Miss Universe headquarters are. And that is your whole life is Miss Universe. So it really steps up once you get to that level. But you can imagine like how hard it would be to get to that point, right? Like even winning a local pageant isn't easy, and then a national one and then an international one. So like, wow. Can you imagine like completely uprooting your life and living in New York and just.
I cannot. But have you been imagining it?
Not that, because I'm trying to focus on wearing the heels properly on the national stage. So, if I were to be, at all successful and become a finalist even at Miss Universe Canada, I would be thrilled, right, to be in the top 20. So I believe in like, trying your hardest, and what happens, you'll see.
One thing we didn't talk about that we talked about the other day is that a lot of people think a pageant is a beauty contest and they don't know any more than that. And you had some thoughts.
Yeah. So in a way, it's about your beauty, but beauty is are you showing your personality? Are you showing off your confidence? Like when you go on stage, when you pick a gown, they're not looking at you thinking, is she pretty? Does she look good in the gown? They're thinking, is she walking with confidence? Did she pick a gown that suits who she is? Can we get a glimpse into her personality when she's on stage? And I think that's a really important skill to be able to do, is show who you are just by your presence. And, aside from that, there's a lot of it has nothing to do with the beauty component. There's interviews, there's humanitarian projects. Like it really is an all-encompassing, like who you are as a person and like how are you a strong and independent and hardworking woman. That's really what they're looking for. And in terms of like the beauty, personally, I think it's important to show that you did your hair, you did your makeup, not so you look better, but to show that you put in the effort to look professional. Because like I said, you're representing a city or an organization or a country, right? And no matter what you look like, you should make sure that you're looking your best, right? So that's the most important thing. So it is a beauty competition, but the beauty is your confidence and your strength.
I really liked that one outfit you had with the neon kind of cowboy hat and colors. That's what I voted for.
Oh, thank you. I mean,
I wanted you to wear it today, but this obviously is really great.
You know what? I love that outfit too. The only thing is it's hard to wear this crown on a hat. Yeah. And this is like a little secret. Those pants I was wearing are so tight. I don't think I can sit in them.
We could have done it standing, I guess.
It's just us on the floor, just trying our best.
If I go out this Halloween, I'm going to go as Miss Calgary and try to find that pink cowboy hat. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go as you.
Totally should. If you do, tell me and I'll go as you.
Okay.
I'll get like a blazer and headphones and blue sunglasses, sorry. Yeah. And then we can send pics to each other.
We have a deal. I think I might do that.
It'd be so funny. Pink cowboy hat is great. And the thing you can't tell from that picture is the top of that cowboy hat is in the shape of a heart.
Oh, wow.
Which you can't see in pictures, but I know it's there.
I'm not going to get one of those.
Okay.
But
well,
I'm going to try my best.
Get a pink one.
I'm taking one more break.
Fabulous.
Hey, everybody. If you're watching this and haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, rate it and maybe leave a comment. Thanks. Bye. Let's start back up.
Sounds good. Put this back on. There we go. Luna.
I'm going to start with Luna right there.
Okay. Oh, no, she gone.
Okay.
Well, we had a visit during the break.
Welcome back to the show. Sorry about the dog hair.
That's okay.
They shed quite a bit.
They're very lovely.
I hear you like dogs.
Yes.
You can shout out your dog.
Shout out to my dog, Levi. So Levi is half Bernese and half Labrador. He's 120 pounds and he is a big boy who he's very protective. He's very lovely. And I always tell him that he sometimes makes bad decisions because he'll chase a squirrel or dig and get all muddy when I have to clean him off. So yeah, I love him very much. And your dogs are Pomskis? Did I get that
Pomeranian Husky and a Pomeranian Malamute.
Pomeranian Malamute, okay.
Pomamute.
So they probably get very fuzzy in the winter then. A lot of hair.
Yeah, there's hair everywhere. Yeah. It's insane.
I feel that.
We have a robot vacuum going around just for maintenance purposes and then every other day vacuuming.
I know. It's with Levi, because he's part Bernese, he has so much hair too. And it's black. So it's black hair everywhere. And then,
What color floors do you have?
They're pretty dark.
Okay. That's not too bad.
It's good.
Well, I have red floors and the white hair is
just
yeah. It's horrible.
They're so sweet. I had a lovely visit with them. It's too bad they didn't stay. They could have.
I thought they would.
Talked about their future pageant endeavors.
Yeah. You'd think they'd be more excited to see Miss Calgary.
It was 10 seconds of extreme excitement.
Yeah.
And then over, which is typical of dogs. Right?
Maybe they're shy.
Yeah.
They see the crown and they're like,
oh, this is
royalty. I don't know.
I saw a video actually this morning on Instagram of a guy pretending to be a dog on a podcast. And he was talking about how
I've seen that.
Yeah, you see where he's working on the two paws going
so
up
funny.
or something. It was so accurate.
You know what? I want to redo that. I'm going to do that. Coming soon.
Okay.
I'm going to try.
Okay.
Or I could do it with my dogs and just do a voiceover.
Yeah, that would be good.
Because they hop up here and kind of smell the microphone and it looks like they're talking into it. So, yeah.
That would be really funny. You should definitely do that.
Okay.
Or even, for ridiculous comedic effect, just they don't say anything and it's just you talking and then going to the dog who continues to not say anything.
Okay.
I don't know. This is why I don't have a podcast because that's what I would do with it.
I'll make it for you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay, so moving forward, you're preparing for Miss Universe. What is the preparation like?
So because it's a national stage, everything is, more competitive and, you're competing for that Miss Universe Canada title, that's just a big deal. And there's some girls who they've done it more than once, or they've been doing pageants for years. And where I feel like I need some work is the runway stuff. So learning how to walk in 6-inch heels. And even just, this is a fun fact. When you walk in evening gown, you walk differently than when you walk in swimsuit. So being able to get those two different attitudes right is like something that's very new to me. And
is there like a walk coach, a walk specialist?
there's like actually a couple different pageant coaches that I know of. There is a lady she works for Miss Universe Canada, and she's in Alberta, and she's might be hosting some like runway lessons or whatever, but it's definitely, I could seek out, some coaching if I want. I'm also a big believer in filming yourself and watching it. Have you ever done that for anything?
All the time.
Besides, as I said it, I was like, so you watch yourself and you're like, oh, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, even if you're doing something well, it just feels cringy.
Yeah.
So
it's horrible.
Yeah, I film myself and watch myself walk in heels and see what I feel like I need to do better.
You might not do it the same when you're filming yourself as you actually do it, though. Maybe you're like overemphasizing different movements. It's hard to say.
It's possible. My hope is that if I just work on it a little bit, like every day for the next however many months until August, that it'll just become like second nature, So it's just like, it's different. And, when you do get a gown, you'll walk differently depending on what the gown looks like. If it's tight all the way to your knees, your strides will be shorter than if it's open, or will you be able to move your arms? So there's a lot of little things that, like, when you see somebody walking on runway or in a pageant, they make it look so effortless. And it's really not effortless. Like, they put in so much work to get to that point. It's crazy.
Imagine like a Rocky style training montage where you like are on a treadmill in a gown.
Oh my God. I should do that and put together. And it's like me walking fast in heels with like, what is it? Is it Eye of the Tiger?
Yeah.
Is that the song? Yeah. I should do that in like a treadmill and heels.
Yeah.
Could pull that off.
Really slow on the treadmill, but just you can practice for
like strumming.
unlimited.
Yeah, just keep going. Yeah. So it's a lot of work. It was also, I don't know if I ever mentioned this, but I was an Irish dancer for 12 years.
You didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't
Surprise. I did that for a long time. So it does help with stage presence and posture, I think. So maybe that's what makes me look tall.
Did you use that in a talent portion?
I did not. And that's a great question, because there was a talent portion and I decided not to do it because Irish dance shoes, like, quite noisy. And I didn't want to wreck the floor because we were renting out a community association building. And I would have felt so bad if like they couldn't rent it out in the future or their prices went up because I wrecked the floor. So I decided not to do the talent portion. The talent portion was optional. So I decided not to do it because, can't really rock climb on a stage either.
Yeah. Or a horseback ride. You have a
Just
lot
bring
of
in a horse.
fun talents.
Yeah. Not stage able though. That's the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe at Miss Universe, you can bring a horse in.
Yeah. We'll see if I can just cart a horse all the way
Maybe
to
for
Ontario.
your costume, you could ride in on a horse. Has anyone ever done that?
I don't think so. I wonder if they have rules against
Probably.
like a live animal.
I bet they
Can
would.
you bring like a chicken or like a dog on stage with you?
Please look into that and get back to me.
And I'll let you know. I'll bring like I don't know, bunny.
What are your plans for the future?
Oh my gosh. Well, put this back on.
Go to a pin store.
Yeah, go get a pin for when I wear this blazer again. So between now and August, it's just thinking about that national competition and also working to make sure I, keep getting
Miss
better at my job.
Calgarying.
And Miss Calgarying, which is definitely a word. After come next March when I no longer have this title, I mean, I'm still I'll still be working full time and I have my volunteer commitments with the Stampede. And we'll see what comes up. I just have a hard time saying no to an opportunity. So if something's presented, I'll probably say yes. And because of that, I don't really know what the plan is because until it happens, who knows?
I'm guessing it's going to be something interesting. So I'm going to set a reminder in my phone for today next year to have you on the podcast again for an update.
Oh my gosh, we should do that. Hopefully I'll have something interesting to say.
Yeah. Well, either way.
And then we can talk about our Halloween costumes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm setting that reminder. I don't know where my phone is, but after this, I'm setting that reminder and we'll see you here again next year.
I would love to be back. This was so much fun. So
that's it. Thanks for coming on the show. You've been a really good guest.
Thank you for having me. Great host. Great
Thanks.
questions. This was so fun.
Yeah. I just take these off. It's over.
Fabulous.